Members of Danza Azteca Mexicayot, an indigenous dance group, pray with their bodies. They dance outside the gates of the Immigration Detention Center in El Paso, Texas. With maracas in their hands and belts attached to their ankles, they extend their bare arms into the chilly air. Moving to the beat of the loud, steady drum, they call out to their ancestors, asking for the strength and the release of Alexi Cruz, an undocumented immigrant. Reporting from El Paso, Maria Esquinca has a story.
Alexi Cruz, an undocumented immigrant, was driving back to San Antonio when his car broke down in Lordsburg, New Mexico. He had driven to Arizona to visit his sister, who was also undocumented and had been detained there.
I was feeling dizzy because I was walking for more than 13 miles, and I was super thirsty, so I decided to call the highway patrol. And the highway patrol get in there, and then they start asking me for this question, like, do you have ID? I was like, yes, I have ID. And I show my school ID. And they're like, okay. And they went to his car. And then when he was there, he was like, do you have a state ID? I was like, no. Why you don't have a state ID? I was like, did I have to answer that?
Cruz was arrested in New Mexico and then sent to the Immigration Detention Center in El Paso, Texas. In El Paso, immigrant rights groups and activists argued that Cruz was being unlawfully detained because he was a DACA applicant. DACA, short for Deferred Action Against Childhood Arrivals, was a policy signed by President Obama in 2012. The policy categorized immigrants who came into the country before they were 16 as low-priority deportees.
Semeli de Aslan, a social justice advocate, wrote a petition that was signed by 600 people and organized a protest for the release of Cruz.
Essentially, people who have received DACA approval, if they're ever detained, they should be released right away, and that's been the way that they do it. But what this experience really highlights is how many people in there are detained and shouldn't be.
However, the Aslan and the protesters, following Cruz's wishes, not only argued the illegality of Cruz's detainment, but something else not usually heard of in the immigration debate.
Since colonization, we've been fighting for our lands, and historically, Native peoples have been migrating through these lands, time immemorial. So as far as his indigeneity is concerned, he really identifies as this land as his motherland, and a place where he has every right to be and raise a family. In 2007, the United Nations officialized the Indigenous Declaration, the Declaration of Indigenous Peoples' Rights. The United States is one of the only countries that does not want to approve it, despite the fact that the majority of countries in the United Nations have approved.
Inside the detention center, when immigration officers asked Cruz where he was from, he said he was ancestrally from the U.S.
They was asking me where you're from. I was telling, well, first of all, I'm from this land. I belong from this land. And they're like, so you're from here from Mexico? And like, I'm from this land. And they're like, so what do you mean from this land? They're like, yeah, I'm from this land. I belong from this land. My ancestors, they're from this land, so I don't have to show you any documentation. I can show you documentation. Yeah, I can show you the corn that it's from here.
According to Cruz, the immigration officers called him nicknames like Mr. Native or Señor Apache and physically abused him.
They start laughing at me, like, look at this crazy, this and that. Like, and then one of the officers, they get pissed out of me because I was telling that. And he get mad, he came in with that. And like, okay, if you keep doing like that, I'm going to put you in handcuffs. I'm going to take out your shoes in the cold room. And you're going to be there for like 12 hours. I was like, that's what you're going to do anyways. And he got all pissed out. He put me in handcuffs. I didn't want it to sit down. He grabbed me for the handcuffs. He gave me like with the knees over here. And I was in pain. They dropped me they take out my shoes. They take out this jacket and then sent me with no blankets or sleep in the floor.
A few hours after the protest, Cruz was released from custody.
I don't like that way the system works. I don't know. I don't see why they have to separate families when it's like, this is my case, and inside it's a lot of cases just like me. They're separating families. I don't believe in borders. For me, all the people are the same. We all native. We all belong from we all brothers for the corn, and we all the same.
Cruz, who entered the country when he was 14, would fall under the group of undocumented immigrants protected under Obama's recent executive order. Nosotros pertenecemos en estas tierras, Cruz said after being released. We belong to these lands.